Yardley Council to order. Please rise. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if we could begin with our roll call this evening.
Okay, Ms. Thompson?
Present.
Mr. Bria?
Present?
Mr. Finer? Present. Mr. Ross? Ms. Siegel Morris?
Here.
Mr. Curtin?
Present.
And Mr. McCann?
All right, with 5 members present, that constitutes a quorum. Thank you. First item on the agenda is community announcements. This is an opportunity for any member of council or the mayor or staff to share an announcement of note for the public. Any community announcements at this time? Make the same offer to the public. Any community announcements, events, anything like that you'd like to share? Mr. Applebaum, please make your way to the microphone.
Well, you know I love that microphone. David Applebaum, 39 Breeze Drive, president of Experience Yardley. Just wanted to give an update on all of the events that have been happening over the last few weeks. First of all, Music on Main finished their 3rd event and with great success. I want to thank the chief and for all your help in making sure that we're safe, and things are going well. No problems. The events have been full and very supportive of both the organization, the town, and the businesses. So I always remind people that Experience Yardley presents all of our events with no cost to the taxpayers. Secondly, we are in our 2nd day of Restaurant Week. Woo-woo. It is going extremely well, and I've been marketing that online, Facebook, Instagram, and other places, and the response has been tremendous with over several thousand people. I forgot the words they use when people view our advertisements, but it's been very high and very successful. This Saturday we have another Music on Main event. We have a really interesting Saturday. It starts with the farmers market, goes into a smaller event at the pavilion with the Philadelphia Saxophone Orchestra, then dovetails into the Music on Main, which is a bluegrass group called Wanamaker Lewis and Lewis Brothers, and of course it's a day before the end of Restaurant Week. So again, Council, thank you for your support and for and everyone who has made made the events that Experience Yardley successful. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any other community announcements tonight?
I'm not sure that this is one, but
We will have public comment right after, so if it's more of a public comment thing, I'll ask that we do it then.
no, it's not a comment.
Okay.
You sent a note to me indirectly. You didn't need to, probably. But it came from you, and it's about a grant from the water company. And it's for placing bushes.
Yes. Could I ask, actually, that we get through public comment, and we will add this at the end of our agenda as a discussion item?
Okay.
I think it'd be a more appropriate place.
I'm not sure who I'm supposed to contact.
Yep, we'll do it at the end of the meeting under
All right,
discussion.
thank you.
All right, any other community announcements? All right, hearing none, we'll move into public comment, but before we do, I just want to make a brief comment. As everybody has, I'm sure, seen, COVID cases are rising, mask guidelines are starting to come back. The borough has not issued any new guidance. Since those numbers have started to change, we will likely do so soon as it pertains to activities inside Borough Hall. Reminders that masks protect you more than they protect me. I'm wearing one because I did some traveling this week, and I'm assuming that everybody here doesn't want potential airport germs. But in that spirit, when we issue guidance, we do ask that whatever it is, you will follow it when attendance at Borough Hall for appointments or future meetings. Next agenda item is public comment. This is the portion of the meeting during which members of the public may address council regarding items that do not appear on the agenda. If you wish to address council regarding an item that does appear on our agenda, you'll be given the opportunity to do so during council's deliberation of that individual business item. Members of the public are asked to please come to the front to our microphone so our viewers at home can hear your audio, and please state your name and address for the record. With that, let's begin with Mr. Wayne.
Good evening. Rich Wayne, Northern Harvest State Co-Chair. I'm asking for council's permission to temporarily move one of the fence segments in the field. These segments were put by the Shade Tree Commission. We can work around them. We're going to put orange protective barrier fencing around each tree, but there's one section where we have to take out the wooden fence to make the space work. At the end of the event, we would put the fence segment back.
All right, so we're looking at out, event, put back, no cost to borough. Any comments from the rest of council? Any objections from the rest of council?
So in the letter that the Shade Tree Commission sent, are you going to be using like the same holes that already put in the ground? They seem to be concerned that the removing and putting the fence back will disturb the roots of the tree. That seems to be their main concern.
I don't plan to dig new holes.
Okay.
Any other thoughts from council? I know we do have a member of our Shade Tree Commission here. If you have a comment, I think it would be appropriate at this time.
This would be appropriate.
Yes. And if we could just, in the interest of our viewers at home, Rich, if you could allow. Just when you speak from the audience, they can't hear, and it sounds like,
Okay.
And actually, there's multiple members, and I can speak as well, I don't know if you want me to come as well, but at the same time, or speak separately.
sure, let's separately and at the microphone.
Okay.
We are opposed to Mr. Wayne, Rich Wayne, doing that. The Yardley Shade Tree Commission has been tasked with protecting and developing the tree canopy over the borough. Over the past 10 years, 100 trees have been planted in the borough, 90% of them on private property. After unanimous approval from the Yardley Borough Council, the Shade Tree Commission planted sycamore trees in Fitzgerald Field. This is one of the very few places where big shade trees can be planted on public land within the borough. It's also one of the very few places where big public events can be held in the borough. Events that need shade trees to make it comfortable for participants on hot days. My husband's pool, Brad here, is an antique car guy. And I myself experienced the baking on that field while you're waiting to show your car or whatever. So I'm well aware of the heat that comes down. Last year, when we had, it was 19, I came to the council because we had a unique opportunity to place sycamores. I was given approval to do this. 6 trees were planted November 6th by 10 volunteers, among them Council John McCain, councilman. The trees are placed along the north and south limits. So if you're looking out toward the river, they're on your left and right, for any of you that haven't seen them. They were purposely put there to not be in the middle of the activities that might be held. The trees are placed there to provide maximum free space for events, while still planning to give shade in the future. These trees will eventually become big and important to Yardley. We are trying to build this canopy. You may have noticed in your own yards, the trees are old, they are dying. We are now not only dealing the emerald, or cut with, what is her name?
Spotted
The
lanternfly.
spotted fly. You're gonna lose more trees. I don't wanna lose trees we're planting. The trees planted in Fitzgerald Field are not only of great environmental value, they also have high money value. I believe those trees came to us free, although we said low cost. They came to us free because we are members of U.S. Tree Cities. They came to us free because we were all trained by PHS to know how to protect trees, trim them, and provide them. PHS has millions of trees they want to plant. We have been uniquely lucky to get these trees.
It's Hoffenberger, if we could just in the interest of time, maybe take about a minute more to wrap up on this specific issue of the fence coming out around the trees.
All right, it was very important for me to establish that. 2 weeks ago, they did a site visit from PHS. They are recommending the way we have treated the trees in Fitzgerald Park as the standard of art, best practices for other trees going up in this area. PHS will be using us as an example of how to do this properly. The reason those fences are there is that people will not drive quickly. They won't have the weight of the cars there. They won't have the weight of anything close to them. Removing the fences destroys that intent. In order to keep the right to get trees like we have, we must show that we are protecting our trees. This is not protection to take down their tree protection. I believe that can endanger our ability to get more trees.
Thank you.
I want to complete with Mr. Wayne has gotten more trees from the Shade Tree Commission than any other single citizen in this town. When he wanted a tree traded out for something that he was not on our list, Derek Vilsick made the calls to make sure he got what he wanted. I am concerned that Mr. Wayne is protective of the trees on his property, but not public property. I think it is a dangerous precedent to let one person in town control what goes on in public property because it doesn't please what they want to do.
Thank you.
Okay?
To be clear on this point, Mr. Wayne is here representing the Harvest Day Committee, which is making this request. Before we continue any further, because I think there's probably one more comment on this, by way of a little bit of background, I know that we have talked about these fences and these trees before in this chamber. It is not something we've handled administratively up to this point, as everyone can see. So I think before we engage in further debate and time spent, we should ask for a motion. So if there is a motion from council as relates to this, I would hear that now.
I would like to just add, half a minute.
Excuse me, I'm asking for a motion from council. To remove the fence, a motion would be, someone would need to make a motion to that effect. So do we hear that motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded. We will now continue with debate.
How you doing? Derek Bilsick, 3 Holes Lane. I'm a member of the Shade Tree as well. And Leanne really went through a thing, so just to make sure that people can hear me better on the microphone. She went through the program. Just a quick thing I just wanted to mention. We do participate in this program. It's offered through the Pennsylvania Horticulture Society. They provide these trees. One of the things is we are responsible to make to achieving certain metrics as far as the survivability of these trees on a 1, 3, 5, and 10-year basis. You know, if we put trees at risk, particularly the ones that are put in public, are at an elevated heightened scrutiny, you know, we do put at risk the possibility of getting future trees. As as Leanne had mentioned, we've planted close to 100. Roughly 90 of those have gone on private residences. Every single neighborhood in Yardley Borough have received at least one tree. The majority of streets in the town have had more than one tree planted on them. It would be a service that would be it would be a shame really to lose. And we're just really trying to protect the trees. And also the
Can
one
I
other thing that-
interject with a question?
Yeah.
So you mentioned we get our trees for the Pennsylvania Horticulture Association. Is there standards set out by them? Do they say that fences should be put up? And have we asked them if they would detrimentally rule on our future trees if we remove
Yeah.
this fence?
Yeah, so what they do is they give you guidelines of what you're attempted to do, but they don't make any demands. They realize that, money is a situation. They don't expect you to go out and provide fences at cost. Now, when we provided the fences, we reached out and we received the fences as a donation. We reached out to Nice Lumber, who was a supporter of the environment, and he's provided the fences free at cost, so there was no cost. But that would be unusual, but typically, we're putting trees on private properties, yards, and we wouldn't expect them to have to put out the cost to put extra barrier.
But they specifically ask for fencing if it's on public property?
They do not require it. They do not require it, but when they came here, again, they were very impressed by what we were doing to go above and beyond to protect these trees. That would have a lasting impact to the community long when we're all gone. And as I said, it just happened to be that 2 weeks ago, they were taking several pictures. They're putting it in their educational materials that they'll be actually referencing Yardley Borough as a model borough tree tender, shade tree commission, and the practices that we ascertain in order to protect these trees. The only other thing I'd like to mention is Princeton did a similar, in order to protect their trees as well as Princeton Battlefield Park. They surrounded their trees completely with fence, and it's about 20-25 feet away from the fence. We purposely put our fence, it's one side, it's not that far away from the tree, so it's not impacting the property that much. If you look at Fitzgerald Field, it's less than 0.1% of the overall field is impacted by these trees. So removing a fence in order to put a table or something for Harvest Fest and move it 5 or 6 feet just seems, when you put it in that context, it just seems like it's a little bit of overkill. And it just, just seems a little bizarre, but I leave that up to council. Obviously, it's not my authority. I leave the authority up to, obviously rests with you.
Thank you.
Yep.
One more question.
Yep,
Sure.
one more.
So when we voted to put the fences in with the trees 2 years ago, they were said to be temporary. How long do we expect to keep the fences?
I don't know if there was any set time. Those trees are fast-growing trees, so it's more of an open-ended of when the trees are really big enough to protect themselves. Sycamores do grow fast. They've already doubled in size in the 2 years. So at some point that, their trunk size will be a size where, they'll be able to protect themselves. But right now, they've only been in the ground 2 years. As I said, we got a lot of rain this summer, so they've really put on a lot of good growth this summer. It depends on the weather, but if we get another rainy summer next year, they'll double again in size within another 2 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask for someone to repeat what the motion actually is right now?
Excuse me, just for Mr. Finer's benefit, the motion that is on the floor is to grant the approval to temporarily remove the fences for Harvest Day.
One fence.
Or one fence.
Okay.
One fence. All right.
And then, just so I understand, maybe this was already made clear, it's a little hard to hear what people say over the phone, but temporarily remove them means that they can be put right back. Is that right?
Correct. It's my understanding they would come out for the event and be replaced when the event is over.
is there any provision for protecting the trees during the event such that they won't get damaged?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's not part of the motion, Yuri, but what they mentioned was, I think it was an orange, like a snow fence that would be put around in lieu of the wooden fence.
All right.
All right, next public comment.
I'm Per Armstrong, 160 Lincoln Avenue. I have been active in politics in my home country, in Sweden. And the thing is that decisions like this set a precedent. And if these fences were put in place precisely to protect them during events. Otherwise, when there are no events, there is really no danger to these trees. And it seems absurd to remove a fence precisely to it sabotages the very purpose of the fence. And should we like, when we have car shows, can we ask for removing the fences because they are in the way? I mean, this leads to chaos, and you'll have to make a decision for every single event. It's ridiculous. And there's plenty of space for tables in 50 or trees.
Thank you.
Do I get to comment again?
We're just one comment per motion. Is there any other comment from the public regarding this?
Could we finish hearing Mr. Wayne's comments? Or could we get more information about like
Do you have a specific question?
Like how much space do you need, and are cars going to be driving on that space, or is it?
No, they're not going to be driving on it, but it's just a configuration of that one segment makes navigating around very difficult.
Mr. Mayor?
I've heard conversation about moving the fence. Is there any conversation about just moving the table and leaving the fence where it is?
We have a very tight configuration in the field. We would have to move pretty much 90% of everything to not do what we want.
Is that doable?
It's not doable. It's not feasible at this stage.
So if they don't move the fence, what is the outcome?
The outcome is we can't put everything that we want to put on. It's
Everything
configured-
meaning one table? One table would be
It's
removed?
not a table.
What is it?
It's either going to be a blacksmith or it's going to be a car show around.
Anything further from council?
Yeah, I think it's
Just,
important.
I'm sorry, I didn't, if the fence, this is the part that I want to understand a little better. If the fence was not moved, that, if I heard that correctly, either the blacksmith or the car show cannot exist because, why is that?
It's because it causes a chain reaction in our layout. It's one fence segment of the 6 that really is the problem. And we just need a couple more feet on either side. The fence segment is much wider than even the stakes for the tree. It's that extra space though. We're not going to go in the area where the tree is, or where the stakes are. We're not taking out the stakes.
Okay, well, so are you guys going to assume responsibility that the tree, that there's no damage to the trees as part of removing the fence?
I will accept responsibility if somebody runs over the tree, yes.
He's got to comment again.
He's answering questions from council.
Would you like to tell me what you about me?
All right, stop. We're not going to do that, okay?
You're a spokesman for the Shade Tree Commission.
All right. Council, any further questions?
I would just like to highlight that Mr. Wayne came to council, I think, 11 months ago and asked that we think about this fence being removed because he was already starting to do the layout. And I think we said, sure, if Shade Tree says it's okay. So I'm a little frustrated that it has transpired that the decision is happening 3 weeks before Yardley Borough's biggest event.
Okay.
Council did if he spoke with Shade Tree. And so
Shade Tree, it is not okay.
I understand as someone who does planning, that 3 weeks before Yardley Borough's biggest event, this could be really damning to change everything. So I just want to put it on the record that the request was put in before council, whatever was done with that, be that as it may, 11 or so months ago.
It was not sent to us.
I talked to Derek about this issue.
Did he get
Stop, we are not going to do crosstalk. Questions from council may be answered, but the time for public comment has passed. Any final comments or questions from council on this issue? With that, I will call the question. All those in favor of granting permission to remove a fence segment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. The motion carries 4-1. Before we do continue, I want to say one thing. Ms. Thompson is absolutely right that this came before council 11 months ago. It is my sincere hope that these sorts of things can be handled administratively in the future. It is not lost upon me that it's completely absurd that we spent the first 20 minutes of this council meeting talking about a fence and a tree. I don't know what happened. What I do know is we asked Harvest Day to speak to the Shade Tree Commission to see if there's consent. There obviously was not consent. So the motion has carried, the business is done, but please, we are,
Why did you not
the
tell
business
us?
is closed.
Why weren't we notified that this was coming up to council?
Did we not talk about it?
Excuse me, if you don't both stop, I'm going to ask you to leave this meeting. We have business to conduct. Rich!
Stop it, Rich.
Is there any other public comment this evening related to any issue? Hearing none, we will close the public comment portion of the meeting and we will move on to consideration of the consent agenda dated today, August 17th. There are a number of items. I will read them now. First is approval of the minutes dated for our October 3rd meeting. Second is approval of the bills list for tonight, August 17th. Third is the event permit approval for the Mini Music Fest to take place on August 21st. There are also several certificates of appropriateness, 21-18 at 1 South Main Street for a sign, 21-19 at 1 South Main Street for a sign, 21-20 at 49 South Main Street for a sign, 21-21 at 197 South Canal Street for a roof, 21-22 at 10 North Main Street for signs, 21-23 at 41 East Afton Avenue for a fence, and 21-24 at 121 South Main Street for steps. Would any member of council like for one of these items to be considered separately from the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Mayor has.
Just for full disclosure, I'd like to recognize that one of these certificate of appropriate is on my property.
Thank you. The mayor has disclosed. Are there any comments or questions from council on consent agenda? Any comments from the public? Now would be your opportunity. Please come to the microphone so that everyone can hear you.
Just a little quick, sorry. As we all know, weather's unpredictable, and I am not sure what this Saturday will look like. Both bands asked if we could do a postponement date, so I just want to bring that to your attention, that we may ask to move it 1 week later if there's a rain in the forecast. We're not in the forecast, but if it does rain, that the saxophone orchestra could play the 28th rather than the 21st. That's all I wanted to ask.
Was the rain date indicated on the original event permit?
It's always indicated as a possibility, yes. And Mr. Curator and I believe the chief was on receiving the email that I received recently about Music Romaine in general.
Do you have it handy there?
For the music fest? It's not on there.
Paula, do you know if we approved or vetted the rain date? The consent agenda motion is for the application as submitted.
It's not on as a rain date, no.
Okay.
Pray it's sunny.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, oh, yes.
Do I get to talk to you yet about the water funding?
We will handle that under discussion items, which is item 12 on the agenda.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yes. We'll get there quickly. It looks like a lot between now and there is not. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Chief Kelly, your report.
No report this evening.
Manager Johnson.
Budget requests are due for the 2022 budget on Friday. Elevation projects are moving forward. Folks are coming in to sign their agreements and drop off deposits, and the streetlights have been repainted, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Solicitor, any report?
No report this evening, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Real quick, just would like to thank Yardley Borough resident Isaac Applebaum for calling in today's Yardley Borough on our radio show, so for being our guest, so thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move through council member reports. Mr. Curtin, you're up first if you have anything.
No report.
Mr. Ross is not here. Ms. Steele Morris.
No report.
I also have no report.
No report.
Ms. Thompson has none. Mr. McCann is not here, and that brings us to Mr. Feiner.
Well, I do have a report, which is also an agenda item, so I will go through that, if I may.
Yes, floor is yours.
Great, okay. So this is regarding a resolution which is in the packet, which was then updated. There have been a few versions of it, but they're more or less the same with minor differences. Let me just give some backstory first, for those of you who might not know. About a month ago or so, Ted Smith, who was the commander of the American Legion in Yardley, approached council and requesting that the World War II monument outside of Borough Hall and the connected flagpole, which, as the history goes, as I understand it, explained to me, the American Legion paid to install it and they maintain it as a symbol of Americans who paid the ultimate sacrifice. And Mr. Smith asked on behalf of the American Legion that that flagpole be used to fly only the American flag, no other flags. So this question was passed to community outreach to figure out a solution. And Caroline and I, who are on the community outreach committee, had a meeting with Ted Smith as well as with Mayor Harding. It was a very respectful and productive meeting to figure out a reasonable solution that would respect Legions' request, but also allow, when council desires to do so, any flag of importance to council to be displayed. So in the meeting, what we figured out was that there are actually 3 mastheads on the facade, at the very front of Borough Hall, that could be used to fly other flags. So that essentially you can have the American flag on the main World War II monument pole, and then you could have any other flags, whether it be Pride or anything else council decides on. It could be Black History Month, it could be a Pennsylvania flag, it could be a number of things. And that's up to council. But there are plenty of spots, there are 3 spots. One of them is actually right over the arch. It's a very prominent spot. And so to those of us in the meeting, this sounded like potentially what the solution could be, that we could sort of find something that, all views on this, both sides of this could work with. Now, before I go any further, I just want to be clear on something, which is that personally, me as a child, I grew up in Greenwich Village in New York City, in the shadow of the Stonewall riots, and I have gay family members. And actually today is the 1-year anniversary of my cousin's same-sex marriage that took place in my sister's backyard. And I also have family members who are veterans, some with long military careers. So it's actually kind of interesting. I'm sort of like an example that shows that we might not just be necessarily talking about 2 different groups of people. I also want to say that Yardley has a long history of embracing tolerance, inclusiveness, and freedom. And I'm proud of that. And whether you look at it being a stop on the Underground Railroad, the Quaker roots, all the historically oppressed people who found a home here, and as well as the many veterans and their families who fought for freedom to make Yardley their home and made Yardley their home. So, I'm coming here tonight as a public service public service, and not to perpetuate fighting between groups, but to work on fair and pragmatic solutions so that people here in Yardley, my neighbors, can continue to live in peaceful coexistence with each other. That said, recently I learned that there are some people on council that are not happy with this resolution, and I understand and respect that this can be a deeply personal issue, and so rather than just bring this up for a vote immediately, what I want to do right now is just bring it up for discussion and see what the rest of the council thinks, see what the mayor thinks, see what the public thinks, and I just request if anyone doesn't like this solution, I'm all ears. Just please bring us a constructive alternate plan to work with. So let me stop right there, and we'll proceed afterwards depending on what comes up.
Thank you, Mr. Feiner. I understand you don't want to make a motion at this time. However, I think in the interest of saving council a lot of time, we should probably see if you were to motion, if there would be a second. Because if there would not be, there would be no purpose in the debate. So I am gonna ask you for that motion.
What I'm thinking is that I'm sorry, can I just say something here?
Sure.
My thinking about this, just because this is potentially a sensitive issue, and I'd like us to resolve it as a community, and I thought we were doing that, and maybe we've done that. It's not clear yet. My thinking is that by opening this to discussion, we can then decide. It seems like there are a lot of different views on this. We can wait on this, and we can bring it up for vote next time. We don't have to rush this through. The discussion would be productive, especially President Brea, because you and I spoke about this. This is something that's not, as I believe, it's not something that is clear cut, as maybe it might have seemed 2 days ago. That it deserves discussion, is what I'm trying to say, without necessarily being a motion yet.
All right. Would anyone like to chime in? Let's start with council.
I don't think that, that moving the pride flag from the pole that it's on to here is a bad idea, because it would be more visible, and perhaps then we could fly it all of the time. Why not keep it up visible on the front of Borough Hall?
Any other comments?
I was part of the conversation with Ted and Mayor and Uri, and I do agree that it was productive and it was respectful. Some points I brought up that maybe weren't mentioned in the summary that I just think are important was that we did check flag code before we voted upon the resolution to fly the pride flag. That was very important to those who drafted the resolution, that we respect the American flag and the flag code, and it did not conflict with any flag codes. I also mentioned that I do not believe it's disrespectful to fly a flag below the American flag, which I think the group agreed with. And then finally, that I was concerned about the formality of a resolution or an ordinance, in that it would be, in a sense, acknowledging that what council did in June by flying the pride flag was incorrect or wrong. With that being said, I do think the other flag posts are more visible. However, we've passed a one-time resolution for June 2021. So each time council, and it might not be us next year because most of us are up for re-election this year, people sitting up here have to decide each year what they want to fly, when. So it's not going to be an ongoing issue per se. So those are just some of my thoughts. I think the timing is a little suspect of this, everything being brought up. It does feel reactive to me.
I had a question, David, just it's more procedural than anything else. We're a council and we can vote on this and we can approve it or not. But if we do, what is the effect, and this may be a question for you, Bucky, what's the effect of the resolution come next time someone wants to fly a flag in maybe
Well,
can conflict with this.
Right. The resolution essentially establishes a policy of council that governs the subject that is covered in the resolution. Doesn't necessarily, it's not as formal as an ordinance. It doesn't become part of the code of ordinances. It can be rescinded, modified, or whatever at any point in time by another resolution of council. But that's what it would take to change.
So if right now, to Councilwoman Thompson's point, if someone wants to fly a flag, we have an affirmative vote, a thumbs up, thumbs down on each issue in isolation. If we have this, then we would have to overturn this. It'd be another hurdle before then you could have an up-down vote, is that?
This would be essentially a directive to the administration of the borough to
Okay.
make a decision on what can be done.
Got it, so it wouldn't have to come to council every time. This would be setting up the protocols.
Exactly.
I understand. Okay, that's helpful.
My turn, I guess. I think that the timing of this is probably a little bit more than just suspect. I think it's directly reactionary to the fact that we flew a flag, and particularly a pride flag. And as I thought about this, what really came to mind is how dangerous the precedent in this country is of saying, you are welcome, but you need to go over there to do it. There's a lot of debate about what even is this flagpole. Is it the memorial? Is it the flagpole at a government building? Which is what I have always believed it to be, and I think what the public largely perceives it to be. But I have concerns about this idea that we say, yeah, we accept you. Yes, we celebrate diversity. Yes, we celebrate these communities. Just not here. Just not on this spot. I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole of flags and what do they mean. But the American flag is a complicated thing for a lot of people. For me, the symbolism of flying a pride flag underneath the American flag at a government building was to say, hey, we are finally getting to a point where equality exists, right? We're getting there, we're not there yet. LGBTQ people don't have full equality under federal or state law. A lot of people think they do, that's not true, right? The housing market's pretty hot right now. If you and your same-sex partner are viewing a house and the owner says, I don't want to sell it to you two because you're queer, that's legal. That's legal. So a resolution like this, that is a reaction to what we did for Pride Month, this resolution carries its own symbolism. It carries its own meaning that I don't think was intended by the people who authored it or asked for it. And yet it's there. And that's where I'll leave my comments. So, Mr. Feiner, the floor can go back to you. This is your item. I don't know where you want to take it from here.
Yeah, I appreciate all the comments, and I appreciate what you said as well. I really view it's complicated because, everyone can view this differently. I mean, when I was working on this, I was kind of imagining this is cool. You have the American flag, sort of, to me, it symbolizes freedom to express what the Constitution guarantees, and then you have flags on the building that represent what the people want to express. That was my story, but I understand their different views, and I think I go back to what's the pragmatic solution here. What's the alternative? I see an alternative, and the other thing is that, to my knowledge, there's never been any other flag flown there. I think the mayor might want to chime in on this, but when I spoke to the mayor about the carry the lowest flag, I think he wasn't allowed to hang that one there. So I think there is, maybe it's a misunderstanding. interactions with the Legion, they indicated, Ted Smith indicated respect for tribes with a simple act. So that's my view. I would say at this point, since nothing else has come up as an alternative solution, except for doing nothing, which I don't think is really an answer, I would say let's go and put it forward towards a vote, unless there are people in the public that want to say anything or anyone else wants to say anything.
Well, to maintain procedure,
Put it forward and then we can get the public comment. Sorry.
I would say to maintain some procedure here, before asking for public comment, I think it'd be appropriate to have a motion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve resolution, sorry, let me just get the.
21-6.
Resolution 21-06. A resolution pertains to the use of flagpoles owned by the Borough of Yardley located at Yardley Borough Hall, Buckwood Park. Do I need to read the whole resolution?
If you want to, you can, but we've never made that a requirement.
Okay, you guys rather not, it's right there.
All right. Is there a second to the motion?
I will second it.
Motion has been properly made and seconded. Council has already debated, so unless anyone has something they want to add now, we'll turn it over to public.
Yes, I'll speak since I brought it up. Ted Smith, Commander, American Legion, Post 317 here in Yardley. It's not about pride. It's about veterans who served their country and died, who were members of this community at one point and never got to come home. That flagpole was installed there out of respect for those individuals that are named on that monument below that flagpole. That's purely all it's about. It is my understanding, and I can't contest this because I did not see it, but I was told that Black Lives Matter flew the flag on top of the American flag the day that they had their rally or whatever we call it here. And I don't know if that to be true or not because I was at the Legion that day. So it's... If
it happened, it was not borough sanctioned.
I understand, but I'm saying I don't believe the pride flag is the first flag to fly there. That's not why we came here. It wasn't reactionary. The reaction is that we want to honor those veterans named on that monument. That's purely all it's about. That's it.
Ann Offenberger, 160 Lincoln Avenue. I've been a resident of Yardley Borough for 35 years. I agree with you, Yuri. Although the commander just was very careful to speak as he did, my son, a veteran, is totally, what do they call it, totally disabled from this war. He served with a number of gay men and women. I think it is important that under a flag that celebrates soldiers, that it is not just heterosexual soldiers that are being celebrated. It is also homosexual men, women. We have many initials after that. Trans. It is time our country gave credit to the people who have done service that were gay. I have no problem with this coming out. My son is a heterosexual. I hope he's got 2 children. I don't know. But the point is that his friends are not necessarily seen as honorable soldiers because they're gay. I think there is a huge, big problem with that. You give your life for this country, and whether you're gay or not, whether you serve and live or not, you're all equally important. So I would side with Yuri on this. I believe it's very important to let that fly. We are having every day, today, Republicans have been told that they are going to recognize this. The evangelical community is angry about it. The rest of the Republicans
Thank you. Yes.
Kim Perkins, 20 West Compton. I just want to say that I think what gets missed is that this is a memorial to World War II veterans. And as the younger generation comes up, it's less prominent in their lives because it wasn't part of their history. It's something that happened in the past, and you learn about it in school if you learn about it in school. So for the veterans that see that and see another flag, whether it's the gay pride flag, Black Lives Matter, or any flag, underneath their monument, they find that somewhat disrespectful. I don't think it's meant as disrespect to the community or whoever's flag it is. It's just that they want that to represent them. And I think that if there's a location that a flag can fly, whether it's the gay pride flag or the state flag or whatever flag wants to fly, if there's an available spot that we could fly that, why can't we let the veterans have their memorial that they paid for? And that would truly represent just them. Not that we're saying that we're not conclusive of everybody, but just, it seems important to the veterans that they spoke out to say that they didn't like this. I know that some people think that it's reactionary, and I would say that it is reactionary because the flag was there. And they didn't like that there was another flag, not that flag, but another flag there. So I understand that, and I see their point. And I see the point that we want to be inclusive of everybody, and that that flag could fly there. But the intent of when it was installed, and the intent of what they would like it to mean, is simply for the American flag to be there. And I think that folks should understand and respect where they're coming from, as well as where the other side is coming from. And if there were no other place to fly a flag, I would say they have every right to say, let's put something else there. But if we have the ability to do something somewhere else that still is inclusive, is still prominent, and still gives people what they want, that flag to fly, I don't see why we would push to say that someone needs to take this as part of it because we think it's personal to us that you're saying, no, we can't do it. And I don't think it's personal. I think it's simply, we want to remember these people this way. With all the cancel culture going on, and with all the monuments coming down, we've got one that we could put up with the flag and be respectful for the people that gave us the freedoms to make these choices. And again, if we had a spot that we could put that flag, and we could fly it year-round, I would say, let's do that. Let's put it up, let's fly it year-round, and let's say that Yardley Borough is inclusive of all of these peoples. And I think that we are. And I don't want to have our council make a resolution to say, yes, we're going to allow this to happen because we want it to happen. Because I think that might make it more decisive for folks in town. There'll be some population that says no. And there'll be some population that says yes, and that's going to keep that division going. If we could be respectful of both sides, get both flags out there, I think that's what we should do.
Have something you wanted to?
No, I
raise?
think the sticking point for me is I like the idea of using the 3 holsters on the front of the building. I do not like the idea of over-engineering this into a resolution. That's where I'm getting stuck.
But I agree. I don't think that we need to have it on the books. I think that we can do this without that formality.
Mr. Mayor.
I guess it's just only proper if I share my thoughts with everyone, the thoughts that I shared on the Zoom call, just because everyone wasn't on that. I understand that this is a particular issue of importance. I am for inclusion. I have, as mayor, been very proud to perform all types of wedding ceremonies and will continue to do so. What my viewpoint in listening to that Zoom meeting was, Ted comes here tonight not as Ted Smith, but on behalf of the entire Legion. So I think it's important that we recognize that he is coming as a representative of the Legion. These are the men and women who were willing to die and did die for our right to fly all different types of flags. if they come to us and say, we are asking for a request on this monument flagpole, I tend to then lean to their camp and say, I get that. I don't see it as reactionary. I understood and understand how it could be seen as that. But again, I've heard Ted talk on behalf of the Legion about other solutions they would want to be involved in, things of that, so I don't think it's about that. To me, I truly believe it's them saying that this monument is special to them, for the people that laid down their lives, and they're asking us to respect that, just as that desire for respect is at the core of a lot of the other flags that we're talking about flying. The pride flag, the carry the load flag, all of those other flags. So those were kind of the thoughts that I shared in the Zoom meeting, and I just thought it was important that I let the room hear that rather than just those that were me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your input. Topics like this are not always easy. Just
Would it be, just based on the input that I heard, would it be acceptable if I just read the 3 points of the resolution? Because I think, from what I heard, there may be some confusion around it, may be helpful, clarification purposes.
sure, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just going to read the 3 points without all the sort of stuff on top. So point 1 is the borough recognizes and respects the importance of culturally significant flags and shall, discretion of borough council, elect from time to time to fly any such flags from mastheads in the facade of Borough Hall or the flagpole owned by the borough in Buttonwood Park. 2, the borough also respects the importance and historic and symbolic significance of the World War II monument in the borough, and therefore it shall only fly the American flag from the flagpole located within the World War II monument, which is owned by the borough and maintained by the American Legion. And 3, during all times when the American flag is located within the World War II monument in the borough is flown at half-staff by the American Legion, pursuant to customary rules and traditions. Any and all other flags located at Borough Hall shall either be A, reduced in height to below that of the American flag, or B, in the event of reduction in height of such other flags to below the height of the American flag is not possible, removed for the duration of time that the American flag located within the World War II monument in the borough is flown at half-staff. And the reason I just wanted to read that is because I think the point of this resolution is just to clarify the issue so that there's an agreed direction moving forward and so that future councils don't have to kind of go through this question. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to read that.
Of course. All right, any further deliberation? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor of approval of Resolution 21-06, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Motion carries 3-2. Ms. Puffenberger, we may discuss the shrubbery at this
All right.
time.
Thank you. Again, Dan Kaufenberger, 160 Lincoln Avenue. I am here, I'm not quite sure why I received this, because I'm not sure it's on point for the Shade Tree Commission. But you forwarded a request that American Water Company is offering a grant to have the town, they'd like it to be Yardley, to put up bushes that would be used as a nursery in the future. So let me read, if I could, how she describes it.
And I believe, too, just before we begin that, the intention is to plant these in an area that would control erosion.
They are for erosion. The reason I'm asking, I am confused. Clearly, we do not communicate well. So, because we've talked about that already today. So I want to have very clear communication on this. I am not sure we're the committee to do this. Now, I don't know who is. So I happen to see that the piece of land by the canal may be purchased by the town. That would be the perfect piece. The reason is we need water for these bushes. So the idea is we would be a model for creating bushes that they would take snips from over the time, and they'd be planted throughout our area, throughout Bucks County. It would help with erosion. I have a list of what we want to plant. She didn't have it when I saw her on Saturday. The only area at that time, because I wasn't aware of the field by the canal, was Fitzgerald Field, which I'm hesitant to do anything with at this point, but okay. She wanted to put them in at the side where River Road is. Our problem is we don't have water for that location. So we would have to figure out how to bring the water in. Derek and I have discussed whether there are other ways of bringing it in. We're handling this, I guess, by default. This
Well,
is,
I should be clear too, if you don't think it's well suited for your committee, we can find it another home.
Here-
I forwarded it to Paula and said, let everybody know about this. I don't know who it belongs to.
so it belonged to us. We were where the buck stopped. And as with other bucks, I realize we won't get listened to, but I would like to discuss this. So does this belong to Public Works? Do we wait to make a decision until there's a decision on purchasing the land? I can't assume that that will go quickly. I have no idea where you are in negotiations. But just like we are a model for our trees, what would happen with this funding is that there would be signage saying that Yardley Borough is cooperating in producing these shrubs that can be used for erosion throughout the area. They're fairly tall shrubs, which gives me a little pause at the end of Fitzgerald Field. As you know, I've tried to keep things on the side, out of the way of everybody. So I'm not sure what to do with this. Here's the trick. We have to decide before September 1st. The commitments will be made by September 1st. So I'm coming to you because I have no idea how to do this, who to see, what to do. We have been chosen as a place because we have a number of erosion issues here. We cannot use the lake. The lake is the perfect place, but because it is privately owned, we do not have the right to let the public go down there. Yes, we can walk on the sidewalk, we can enjoy it, but they must have public access. They will maintain these, they will put up deer cages around them. I think this is an excellent opportunity, again, for Yardley to show that we're state of the art and that we could do this. I'm a little nervous about that because of the prior conversation. We have the skill in the Shade Tree Commission. We have one of the area's best arborists. We've got me, who's willing to come and talk to you. We have Derek, who can do anything on computer. But unless we have your support, we can get nothing done. So, to avoid going through all this again, I'm here asking, how in the world do we accomplish this by the 12th? We were not notified of this until, I think you sent it to us on the 5th.
Sounds about right. I forwarded it
Yeah.
the day I got
And
it.
then it took a while to get to me. So, how do we do this? I mean, this is something very valuable for our community to participate in. I need ideas. Do I go to Public Works? Do I go to Parks and Recreation? These are all places I spoke to about what we were doing with Fitzgerald Field.
So I think, and Paula, you might be able to help with this, that Liz did take a look at where we have space,
To do what?
where we would physically have the space to accommodate.
Right.
the scope of this.
And-
So I think it would probably best be handled through Public Works alongside with the engineer. In all likelihood, this is probably too fast a turnaround time.
This woman in charge of this came on Saturday.
Mhm.
And we walked Fitzgerald Field, we walked, I didn't know about the piece by the canal. We walked the lake, we walked Reading Woods. So, I can go back to, I've got her name somewhere. It isn't, pardon? No, Connolly is who came in and talked to us. The person that you were referring to that works with the water company.
I'm not sure.
She was on your memo to me, I just don't have it all listed. Oh, Elizabeth Kalai.
Yes, she is our engineer for the borough.
So I will go to her to start.
Yeah, go
I
through
never
Paula.
want another misunderstanding. Do you understand?
Right, we need to go through Paula but
So, the misunderstanding, Yuri, I want you replaced. You are not paying any attention to the shade tree.
all right, let's stay directed
Well,
on,
this is important. We
This
need
subject.
someone who can convey messages from the council to us. It was not conveyed
Well,
to us.
can I just, can I respond to that? I'm
Sure.
happy to set up a meeting with you this week. Okay?
You did what?
I'd be happy to set up a meeting with you this week.
I called you 2 days ago and sent you a memo so that I could get your response. You did not respond.
Okay? I'm not sure, I didn't get a message from you, so I'm not sure who you called or.
all right, let's do this.
So,
I think,
I'm not trying to, I like
I don't wanna
the
get
State
into
Tree
this.
Commission and I'm happy to work with you guys.
I don't want to get into it.
all right, thank you, everyone. We are making a lot of noise at this point. I think the best option from here is to handle this offline. We're certainly not going to resolve it tonight.
Right.
And the deadline is by, yes.
Well, if we approve Public Works to move forward with using the engineer tonight, then they can do that with our blessing before the next meeting, and it could be.
That would be important. Thank you.
Let's do
So
that.
I make a motion to authorize Shade Tree and the borough engineer to work on a grant application for, what is the name of
I
it?
plead with you, make communication better to your commissions. Because we can't work in the line.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion from council? Anything from the public?
So it's up to me to call her.
No, we'll have her.
You will?
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Abstentions? I heard 4 ayes. I may have it. Unless there is any other business to come before council tonight, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.